The world is on the brink of a transformation, and China's acceptance of Saudi Arabia's offer could be the catalyst that ignites a dramatic reshaping of global power. But the real question remains, what's the price of this newfound alliance? And more importantly, what will the consequences be for the world at large? Is this just a diplomatic shift, or are we witnessing the beginning of a seismic upheaval that could alter the course of history? For decades, Saudi Arabia has carefully navigated the intricate maze of international relations. A master of political chess, it has balanced competing interests with a level of sophistication that has kept it in a position of power. But this latest move is unlike any we've seen before. It's not just a maneuver, it's a gamble, a statement that the kingdom is prepared to shift its entire diplomatic and economic focus. This is no ordinary partnership. This is a potential shift in the very foundation of global geopolitics. Saudi Arabia has extended an offer to China, one that could have far-reaching implications, not just for the Middle East, but for the entire world. And the stakes? Unprecedented. The kingdom is offering China a far-reaching partnership that spans energy, trade, and military cooperation, with the goal of fundamentally altering the balance of power. But why? What could Saudi Arabia be seeking to gain by aligning itself so closely with a rising power like China? At the heart of Saudi Arabia's offer lies a simple but monumental proposition: access to its vast oil reserves. Saudi Arabia, as the world's largest crude oil exporter, holds the key to global energy prices and supply. It has long been the bedrock of the world's energy market, and now, China is poised to secure even greater access to this vital resource. For China, this is more than just a deal, it's a lifeline. As the world's largest energy consumer, China's economy is driven by an insatiable demand for fuel. By securing direct, long-term oil supplies from Saudi Arabia, China can greatly reduce its reliance on volatile Western-controlled markets. This is a game-changer. It would fortify China's economic resilience, insulating it from external shocks, and diminishing the power that Western nations hold over global energy flows. The implications of this development cannot be overstated. For China, it's a calculated move to seize greater control of its own energy future. For the West, it could mark the end of an era of dominance. But the stakes go even higher. The offer reportedly includes not just energy deals, but military cooperation. If the partnership fully materializes, Saudi Arabia could soon become one of China's most important defense allies. Arms deals, joint defense projects, and potentially a significant shift in the region's military balance could follow. For decades, the U.S. has been the primary military partner for Saudi Arabia, providing security guarantees in exchange for access to its oil. But this new alignment with China could signal the end of that long-standing arrangement. What does this mean for the region's security? It could trigger an arms race that destabilizes an already fragile area and further erode the U.S.'s influence over one of the world's most critical geopolitical regions. This is more than just a shift in alliances. It's a fundamental restructuring of the Middle East security architecture. And it's happening right now. What Saudi Arabia is doing is more than just a tactical decision. It's a rejection of a decades-old relationship with the United States. This partnership with China represents a profound shift in Riyadh's strategic thinking. The U.S. has long been the kingdom's security guarantor. But could this new relationship with China suggest a growing sense of disillusionment with the West? Is Saudi Arabia simply hedging its bets, or does it see an opportunity to pivot away from the U.S. and towards a new global power? The implications for regional and global security are vast. If this new alignment takes root, it could fundamentally alter the balance of power in the Middle East and beyond. The United States may have its eyes focused elsewhere, particularly on the Indo-Pacific. But by turning to China, Saudi Arabia is signaling that it no longer wants to be beholden to Washington's influence. It's clear that the kingdom is charting its own course, one that could change the future of global politics. China's decision to accept Saudi Arabia's offer was not a spur-of-the-moment choice. It was a carefully calculated move in a long-term strategy to expand its influence on the world stage. For years, China has been working to build stronger ties in the Middle East, a region of immense strategic importance. As the U.S. shifts its focus to counter China's growing assertiveness in the Indo-Pacific, Beijing has deftly seized the opportunity to fill the vacuum left in the Middle East. This is no coincidence. By aligning itself with Saudi Arabia, China is ensuring its access to crucial energy resources, while simultaneously increasing its geopolitical footprint. This is the kind of strategic move that has the potential to reshape the entire international order. The consequences of this partnership are far-reaching, and they go well beyond just energy and military deals. By securing this alliance, China is positioning itself to challenge the status quo in global politics and assert its dominance in a way that has never been seen before. The world as we know it is changing. The dominance of Western powers, particularly in the Middle East, is being called into question. With China and Saudi Arabia now in an increasingly close relationship, we are witnessing a shift in the very balance of power that has shaped the 21st century. The ramifications of this alliance could be felt across every continent, affecting everything from global trade to security dynamics. But what happens next? How will the US respond? What other countries will follow suit? The answers are still unfolding, and what we are witnessing could very well redefine the global order in ways that we can only begin to imagine. Hold on tight, this is only the beginning. The geopolitical chessboard is being redrawn, and the consequences of this alliance could echo through history. Keep watching, because the most dramatic chapters of this story are yet to be written. China's economic ascent is undeniably tethered to its voracious energy consumption. Every single day, this economic giant imports a staggering volume of crude oil, fueling its vast industries and the burgeoning ambitions of its middle class. But the linchpin of this system? Saudi Arabia. A crucial lifeline in this energy-driven equation, China now relies on the kingdom for an eye-popping 1.8 million barrels of oil per day, cementing Saudi Arabia's position as China's primary, if not sole, top oil supplier. In strengthening this alliance, China secures a vital, predictable flow of oil, mitigating the volatility that could arise from less reliable, politically unstable sources. This partnership doesn't just smooth out potential economic disturbances, it fortifies the very foundation of China's relentless growth, insulating it from market fluctuations and geopolitical threats that could choke its energy supply. In Beijing, there must be a sigh of relief knowing that a significant portion of its energy needs rests securely in the hands of a deepening relationship with the world's leading oil exporter. But this is only the beginning. China's Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, an audacious project weaving infrastructure and investments across continents, has already carved a massive path through the Middle East. With Saudi Arabia, a powerhouse both financially and in terms of its Vision 2030 development plans, China unlocks an arsenal of lucrative opportunities. From high-speed railways to telecommunications and construction, the sectors ripe for Chinese investment are immense. As China deepens its economic penetration into the region, it not only secures lucrative contracts, but also stakes its claim as an influential player in a strategically pivotal part of the world. The BRI, already a powerful tool for expanding China's global footprint, takes on a whole new dimension, one that could reshape trade routes and economic dependencies across the Middle East and beyond. However, the stakes climb even higher. China's military ambitions in the Gulf are gaining significant traction, with rumors of a burgeoning defense collaboration with Saudi Arabia that could shift the region's strategic balance. Though details remain speculative, the possibility of China establishing military facilities or gaining preferential access to existing ones in the Gulf is a game-changer. This move would not only challenge the long-standing U.S. military hegemony in the region, but could transform the power dynamics of the Middle East itself. Imagine the shockwaves that would reverberate through Washington if Chinese warships, once absent from these waters, begin patrolling the same straits long dominated by the U.S. Navy. The implications for maritime security, trade routes, and regional stability are profound and potentially world-altering. But perhaps the most explosive aspect of this growing partnership is the potential de-dollarization of oil transactions. For years, Saudi Arabia and China have quietly discussed switching from the US dollar to the Chinese yuan for oil transactions. Should Saudi Arabia, the world's largest oil exporter, take the monumental step of pricing its oil exports to China in yuan, the consequences would be nothing short of seismic. This isn't just a shift in currency. It's an existential blow to the petrodollar system that has propped up U.S. economic dominance for decades. The ripple effect could destabilize the global reliance on the dollar, sending shockwaves through financial markets and challenging American economic supremacy on a global scale. This move, if it comes to fruition, would be a power play of epic proportions. A multifaceted strategy that could shift the very fabric of the global financial system. Yet, as China grows in power and influence, the question becomes, what will the rest of the world do? Particularly, how will the United States respond to such an audacious challenge to its decades-long dominance? For decades, the U.S. has viewed Saudi Arabia as a cornerstone of its Middle Eastern strategy, a pivotal ally ensuring both regional stability and the free flow of oil. Yet the relationship has frayed in recent years, marred by tensions over issues like human rights and diverging interests on oil production and security. With China now boldly stepping into this equation, Washington is faced with an existential challenge to its influence in the region. A response is inevitable, and it could be swift and severe. Economic pressure is likely to be Washington's first weapon of choice. With a host of economic tools at its disposal, The US could impose targeted sanctions on Saudi individuals or entities involved in the deal, or leverage its influence within international financial institutions to apply pressure. But the effectiveness of such measures is far from certain. Saudi Arabia, armed with immense oil wealth and the growing strength of its Chinese alliance, may prove more resilient to economic coercion than ever before. The real danger for the US is that heavy-handed tactics could backfire, pushing Saudi Arabia further into China's embrace and irrevocably altering the balance of power in the region and beyond. This is not just a contest over oil, it's a battle for geopolitical dominance, and the consequences will reverberate around the world. The stakes have never been higher. As economic pressures tighten, we stand on the precipice of an unprecedented diplomatic storm. The US, facing a mounting geopolitical challenge, is expected to unleash a full-throttle diplomatic campaign, with high-level lobbying efforts aimed squarely at Saudi Arabia. The stakes are nothing less than the kingdom's alignment on the global stage, and Washington will stop at nothing to pull it back into the Western fold. Top US officials will descend on Riyadh, armed with persuasive rhetoric, offering a potent blend of historical ties, security guarantees, and economic incentives designed to sway the Saudis back into its orbit. But make no mistake, the US will not shy away from painting a stark picture of the risks facing Saudi Arabia in the event of a closer relationship with China. Strategic dependence, potential conflicts of interest, and a future dominated by Beijing will be presented as existential threats. Yet, in a world where China's influence is surging, these efforts may hit a much harder wall than ever before. Saudi Arabia is no longer a passive player. It is a nation with choices, and it knows it. Perhaps the most chilling prospect is the US's reaction. If China's growing influence in the region is seen as a direct threat to American interests, expect an intensified military response in the Gulf. The US could ramp up its military presence, conduct larger and more frequent exercises with its remaining allies, and pour more weapons into nations increasingly distrustful of China's expansion. This is the dangerous territory of an arms race, where each side could push the other closer to the brink of war, raising the specter of accidental conflict in one of the most volatile regions in the world. Simultaneously, Europe is caught in a vice, watching nervously as this geopolitical game of chess unfolds. With the EU heavily reliant on energy imports from the Middle East, any shift in Saudi allegiances toward China could lead to devastating consequences. Trade disruptions, skyrocketing energy prices, and an unrelenting economic tug-of-war could force European nations to make an impossible choice, either cozy up to China or stick with their traditional alliance with the US. The lack of a unified European voice on this issue only complicates the West's response, leaving the continent's future position in a growing US-China rivalry hanging in the balance. The potential for an economic war between these superpowers looms large. Tariffs, sanctions, and trade restrictions could bring the global economy to its knees, sending shockwaves through supply chains, stoking inflation, and throttling growth. In the crossfire, Saudi Arabia will be under immense pressure to choose sides, a decision that could reshape its future and its very economy. Can Saudi Arabia, with its newfound ties to China, withstand the full wrath of US economic might if Washington feels cornered? The answer remains uncertain, but the stakes could not be higher. The response from the US and its allies will determine whether this geopolitical showdown can be tempered through diplomacy, or whether the US will opt for confrontation, risking even greater instability in the region. The world holds its breath as this drama unfolds, unsure of whether this is the beginning of a new world order or a tragic escalation. As the alliance between China and Saudi Arabia grows, its ramifications stretch far beyond these two nations. A powerful ripple effect could reshape the Middle East, emboldening other nations to seek alliances outside of the Western sphere. Iran, Russia, and Turkey could seize this opportunity to deepen their ties with Beijing, presenting a unified front that challenges US dominance and destabilizes the existing regional order. Imagine a Middle East where Beijing and Moscow hold sway, leaving Washington sidelined, a scenario that would rewrite the geopolitical map. The impact doesn't stop there. If Saudi Arabia, the world's largest oil exporter, begins trading in Chinese yuan, it could trigger a domino effect. Other nations, especially those with strained relations with the US, may follow suit, slowly eroding the dominance of the US dollar as the global reserve currency. The consequences would be catastrophic for the US, undermining its economic influence and threatening the stability of the international financial system. This growing struggle for control in the Middle East could ignite a new kind of Cold War, with the US and China backing opposing sides in regional disputes. The competition would span not just economic investments, but military alliances, proxy wars, and diplomatic maneuvering. creating new fault lines that could have catastrophic consequences for global peace and security. On the other hand, the rise of China's influence could open new doors for economic partnerships across the Belt and Road Initiative. Nations aligned with China may find themselves in a more advantageous position, thriving in a rapidly changing global economy while reshaping trade flows and supply chains outside the Western sphere. The world is on the brink of a major shift in power dynamics, one that will fundamentally challenge the dominance of the U.S. In a multipolar world, power will be diffused among several major global players, resulting in an increasingly complex and unpredictable international landscape. While this could lead to a more balanced world, it also raises the stakes for heightened competition, sharper tensions, and an ever-present risk of conflict. The world's ability to address global challenges, climate change, pandemics, and economic instability could be radically altered in this new order. This is not just a regional issue, it is a potential turning point in global history. The rise of China-Saudi ties signals a fundamental shift in the global balance of power, setting the stage for a new era in international relations. This is not simply a deal, it is a statement. A statement that the world is changing, that alliances are shifting, and that the future is uncertain. So, the question remains, will the U.S. respond with strategic diplomacy, economic retaliation, or military force? And what will the rest of the world do as this geopolitical chess game unfolds? One thing is for certain, the world is entering a new era of competition, alliances, and power struggles. What do you think? Is this the beginning of China's dominance in the Middle East? Or will Saudi Arabia maintain a precarious balance between East and West? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to stay informed on the latest developments. Stay tuned for more insights into global affairs, as the future of international relations is rewritten before our eyes.